Hi everyone, welcome to another math session. Today in our class we'll be looking at 2D shapes. We'll be looking at 2D shapes. 2D means two-dimensional. So 2D shapes are two-dimensional shapes. They usually have two dimensions, width and height, or length and breadth. They are flat because they do not have depth. Okay, so we're going to take a close look at our 2D shapes, the examples of 2D shapes there are, and some of their basic properties. So the first one we will be looking at here is square. So a square is a closed 2D shape. It has four straight sides that are equal, and then it also has four angles that are equal, and each of the angle is a right angle. Is a right angle, and all the angles are equal. An example of a square in everyday life in our environment is a picture frame. Though not all picture frames are square, some are rectangular in shape, but um, seeing what we have here, it gives us an idea of what squares are around us. The next example we'll be looking at is a rectangle. A rectangle is in almost in every way like a square, except that in rectangle, only the opposite sides are equal. Only the opposite sides are equal. Like you have here, this is equal to this, and this is equal to this. So that's the only difference between a rectangle and a square. So, but apart from that, all the angles are equal and they are all right angles. Okay, an example of a rectangle is a television set, okay, a TV set. And then you also have some frames, like I mentioned earlier, that are rectangular in shape. Another example of a 2D shape is circle. Circle is a 2D shape. It is formed by a curvy line that goes all the way around. It is a perfect round shape, perfectly round shape. And with a line going right across the middle, it can be shared into two parts. Okay, a circle, because it is made up of a curve, a continuous curvy line, has no angles. There are no straight lines and there are no meeting points. So it has no angles. An example of a circle is a round plate, or you can also say your full pizza or a full moon. Okay, those are some examples around us that have circle shape. The next 2D shape we're looking at is semicircle. Semicircle is, like the name goes, half of a circle. Okay, and it is formed like when a straight line cuts a circle into two parts. So a semicircle has a curved line and then a straight line. Those are the two lines that form a semicircle. And an example of a semicircle around us is a protractor that you find in a math set, and that we use in measuring angles. So that's an example of a semicircle. The next 2D shape is oval. Oval is very much like a circle. The only difference between oval and circle is that oval shape is like a stretched out circle. A circle that is stretched out along a certain end. Now, the end that is stretched out looks longer than the end that is not stretched out. So this is just the basic difference. Like in a circle, if you take the diameter, if you run a line through the middle of a circle, all the way around, you will keep having the same diameter. But in the case of oval, if you run a line across the middle, like this, along the stretched out ends, we have a longer diameter than if the line runs across the unstretched ends. Okay, so that's the basic difference between circle and oval. So oval, like circle, does not have angles because it has no straight line. It's formed by a curvy line, a continuous curvy line. So a perfect example of an oval shape around us is egg. Egg is a perfect example. So the next 2D shape we're looking at is triangle. Triangle, as the name is a three-sided 2D shape. It's a closed shape, close to the shape with three sides. Now it has three angles and it has three corners or vertices. We have different types of triangle based on the length of the sides. If the sides have equal length, like we have here, it's called equilateral triangle. But if two of the sides are equal out of the three, you call it isosceles triangle. And then when none of the side is equal to the other, we call that angle, that triangle, a scaling triangle. Okay, so an example of a triangle around us is a pizza slice. Though in a pizza slice, you could find that the top part is a bit curvy, or at least it gives us an idea of what the triangle looks like around it. There are other shapes that are triangles. Okay, so the next shape is rhombus. Rhombus is very much like square, except that it's like tilted square. Okay, rhombus has four equal sides. Okay, and then in the case of rhombus, the difference between rhombus and square, the main difference is that you have it tilted, and as such, two opposite angles become wider than 90 degrees or angle 90, and the other two opposite angles become smaller than 90 degrees. Remember, in a square, we have all the angles at 90 degrees. But in the case of rhombus, two are wider and two are smaller than 90 degrees. And then there are two diagonal lines, like you have from up to down and from side to side, that runs through rhombus. A perfect example of a rhombus is diamond. The next 2D shape is crescent. Crescent has two curved sides of circular arcs, the outer one, which is bigger, and then the inner one, okay, which is smaller than the outer one, and it has 2 points. It has an open space right here in the middle, and it makes it look like the letter C. Crescent looks like the letter C. And some examples of crescent around us is a moon, when it's not fully formed, and then the croissant also has this shape. So the next to the shape is parallelogram. Parallelogram is a four-sided to the shape, belongs to the family of quadrilateral. Actually, any 2D shape that has four sides is in this group of quadrilateral. So you have the square, rectangle, and rhombus that we looked at are all in this category of quadrilateral. Okay, so back to parallelogram, its opposite sides are parallel. That is, this side is parallel to this side, and this is parallel to this. What does that mean? It means that no matter how much you extend these lines, they will never meet. Okay, so the next, a perfect example of parallelogram, or one of the examples, would be the tiles that we use in our buildings. The next example is a pentagon. A pentagon is a five-sided 2D shape. It has straight sides, and then depending on the length of the sides, if they are equal or not, you could have a regular pentagon, and you could also have an irregular pentagon. So if like this you have here, all the five sides are equal, so this is a regular pentagon. But if you have that all the sides are not equal, it is irregular pentagon. An example of a pentagon is the black patches that you have on a football. If you take a close look at the black patches on a football, you will see the shape of pentagon. And then also sliced okra. When you slice an okra and look at it from the sliced end, you're going to see uh, a pentagon. Okay. So the next one is hexagon. Hexagon is very much like a pentagon. It has six straight sides. Okay. It has six straight sides, and it's also close to the shape like pentagon. And it could be a regular hexagon if all the sides are equal in length, or an irregular hexagon if all the sides are not equal. It has six corners or vertices and six angles. Okay, so what we have here is a regular hexagon because all the sides are equal. So an example of hexagon is a honeycomb. The next one here is a star. A star has several pointed ends. Okay, and then it has a central part from which all the arms extend out. Now, the number of points a star has could differ. It could be 4, it could be 5 or 6. Okay, an example of a star around us is the stars we have up there in the sky. And then there are different ornaments, accessories we have around us that also carry this shape. So the next one is the heart. The heart, it has curved upper parts or lobes, this part and this part, and those two lobes they meet right here in the middle. And at the bottom, they combine to form a point in the middle. There's a point. And one beautiful thing is if you cut through a heart in the middle, you're going to have two parts that look exactly the same. So a heart shape is symmetrical. It's symmetrical. And then you find this shape in different things around us, like earrings, necklaces, different jewelries, even clocks, different things around us carry this heart shape. And lastly, we have the trapezium. The trapezium is also known as trapezoid. It's a four-sided 2D shape. It has just one pair of opposite sides that is parallel. The up, like you see here, this line and this upper side and this lower side, they are parallel lines. If you extend them, they will never meet. So trapezium has only one pair of parallel sides. The other pair of sides is not equal. If you extend these lines, they're going to meet at some point. Okay, so and again, the angles in the trapezium are not necessarily right angles because they are curvy. They are bent slightly inwards. Okay, so you have angles that are maybe less than 90 degrees, or basically you don't have them necessarily as right angles like we have in the case of square and rectangles. So a perfect example of a trapezium or trapezoid is a popcorn box. A popcorn box is a perfect example. So here is what we're going to call it a day for today in our lesson. If you find this video helpful, useful, if you loved it, if you think you learned something, please give it a thumbs up and also help us to share this video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe so that we can keep bringing content like this across your way. So we hope to see you again next week. Until then, stay safe and stay blessed.